Welcome to Around Town, featuring what's happening here in the greater Concord area. I'm your host, Patten, and it's a pleasure to welcome you back. Here we are now, coming into the middle of September, if you can believe it, and the stores have got Halloween stuff out, and yes, the Christmas stuff is coming out. So you know what's going on now. But I'm getting ready for my trip to Michigan. So anyway, and the Patriots start tonight. The opening game, yeah. Anyway, I'm pleased to have as my guest Col.Kevin Jordan. For years it was Major or whatever. Now it's Colonel.
Yeah.
And fishing game. Actually, is it still fishing game, or do they call it conservation officer? Or
well, it's still fishing game, but the officers are called conservation officers or game wardens.
Game wardens.
Game wardens, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But it's now getting ready for the fall, and of course hunting season, I'm sure. Now, when does the deer season start?
Well, currently the bear season opened on September 1st, which isn't super popular in Concord, but it is as you go a little bit further north. We've got a really healthy, strong bear population, so we're expecting a good season, and we use these seasons, of course, as a management tool to keep these herds healthy and safe, and it's worked very well for us. We have a good biological staff that works on that. But deer season begins, the archery season will open on the 15th of September.
Wow.
And then rifle season muzzleloader season opens on the 1st of November, and then it rolls right into rifle season right through till the end of December. So once it starts September, it kind of goes right through.
What's the difference between muzzleloader and rifle and all that?
Well, muzzleloader is the primitive one-shot black powder firearm, traditional.
Yeah.
A lot of states do that season at the end. New Hampshire, for whatever reason, chose to do it in the beginning. So we start bow season, then we roll into muzzleloader season, and then into rifle season for some parts of the state. Some parts of the state, it's shotgun only during the firearm season. So, but we still call it rifle season for deer. So yeah, this is a busy time of year for us. Hiking, search and rescue increases this time of year because of the foliage. And I'm driving around. I've already seen. I'm sure everybody has seen the leaves have already started.
Yes, they have.
It's a little early, but it's already started. And it's the time of year I love New Hampshire.
Especially swamps there. I mean, the leaves are all turned.
And the temperature and the water, the amount of water that we get, I'm told, has a lot to do with that. So,
really?
Yeah, that's what I'm told.
Yeah, I noticed the trees are starting to turn a little bit earlier than I thought, but we still haven't had a cold frost yet.
We haven't. No.
Because usually the apple season, to get a good apple, you need a frost to get a color on it.
Right, and the apples have done very well. All the crops that we've seen, the wild crops anyway, have had a really good year. It's been a good year, so that's good for the animals when they have a lot of that to pick from. It's going to be a good acorn year, I think. You know, they're still trying to determine how well that's done, but you're seeing them around. There's some quality to them, so that's always a good thing.
Now you say bears are not too much. There have been bears down in this area more than I thought there would be.
Oh yeah, we get bear complaints in Concord. We don't get them at the volume that you get them up north, but we have bear here.
Someone said last week there was a bear complaint up there. Was it not Carter Hill? Auburn Street area or Liberty up in that area?
Kidding. Yeah, you get them here, and Bow. I know Bow. We get calls. Dunbarton. There's a healthy bear population in the state.
It surprised me out that way a little bit because it's all woods out there more so than there in Concord. But
sure.
I think I would just about. If I ever walked out of my place and saw a bear out there, I think I just about would die.
Yeah, they're actually a pretty safe animal. They
yes, walk right up to them.
They get kind of a bad reputation. Their main focus every day is eating. Their goal from the time they get up until they go down at night is to feed. And
really?
And they're lazy. They will take, quite frankly, whatever's easy for them. That's why they end up in garbage and bird feeders. And they are nothing. They deserve a lot of respect, but they're not. They don't prey on humans, thankfully. They're not like a grizzly at all. Their goal is to just eat. We've had little to no human attacks in the state, which is good. They're very different than grizzly bears. But if they were trapped, if you cornered a black bear or surprised a black bear, and I've trapped them and handled them for 2 decades now, if you were to trap one or corner one, that's when they can become unpredictable. And they can do things defensively to get at, because they're terrified too. They can do things defensively that can be dangerous to people because they're very strong, very powerful animal, and they have a really impressive set of claws. So they could swipe at somebody to get away from them, which could cause harm. But we have them. Unfortunately, they break into homes in different parts of the state in search of food, where they've had close contact with human beings. And knock on wood, we've been very fortunate there hasn't been an incident, other than some property damage. But for the most part, I think television has made them kind of more of a monster than they really are. They're really not like that. But they serve a purpose in the state. They're part of the food chain. They're a predator, which is important for the rest of the animals. The balance of it all. So there's a value to having them here, certainly. And we have historically, bear have been the one species that we've been able to maintain a good, healthy population throughout history. They're a very resilient species, which is good.
So yet, if you killed a mother bear and she's got cubs somewhere, are there tend to be any cubs right now, little cubs, or that born less in the spring?
Well, they're born in the winter during hibernation. So by the time, and they're born every other year. So a good healthy sow will have cubs this year. She won't have them next year. It'll be the year after that. So it's every other year. So she keeps them for 2 years, which is good, because if something happens to her, those cubs have a fighting chance because they've got a little age on them typically. So when they come out and you're seeing them this time of year, they're 6 months old or better. So the survival rate is pretty good. I think that's part of the reason that we maintain such a healthy population. So, and normally cubs are right with sows or very close by. So if you see, if a female, and that's what's called a sow, if you have a female bear that has cubs, you're typically going to see them together. She doesn't, store them somewhere and come back like deer will do. She will have them right with her.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat if you ever get the opportunity to watch a sow interact with her cubs, which is rare, but if you can get time to watch that, it's very, very similar to what we do as people, as human beings. She gives them orders and they follow them. She scolds them. She tells them to do. I've watched a sow, growl at a couple of cubs in a dooryard when people have arrived, and they go up a tree and stay there till she comes back. So they're very similar to us in a lot of ways. So it's interesting to watch. If you never had the opportunity to watch it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And also too, you have a turkey season in the fall, or no?
We do. We have a turkey season in the fall. We have one in the spring.
Yeah.
We do that because we have such, again, a really healthy population of birds. So that's on currently, and what just ended actually.
What ended? Just
turkey season.
It ended?
It ended. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm thinking of the spring one. The spring one ended. We will have another one in the fall. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
October, isn't it?
That's right. And then that's correct. And then we have small game starts in October as well. Grouse, rabbit will all open in October as well, and migratory birds. So really September kind of kicks it off. And then it goes pretty steadily through into December.
And they've got to have their license on them.
That's right. You got to purchase a license, yeah. And if you go on our website, you can do that online now. We've made it, I think, pretty easy for people to do it. All of our regulations, or a good number of them, are posted online, so you can find out what's legal and what's illegal. So you make sure you don't get yourself in trouble. That's all online, which is good. So. Yeah, our second season for the show started. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Well, I saw that
for the Northwoods Law Show. Yeah.
How did you get that? I mean, did somebody just approach you and say?
They reached Engel Entertainment, is the film company who out of New York that does the film work and sells it to Animal Planet. They market to Animal Planet. Animal Planet puts the show on, produces it. And so Engel Entertainment had done a number of different states. They had done Texas, Maine. I think they'd done some work in Alaska. There were a number of states that they had done, and they were always interested in coming to New Hampshire. And so they approached us. It's been 3 years now ago. And we sat down and had some meeting. I was a little apprehensive in the beginning, but we had some meaningful discussions with them, and I was able to air my concerns about the show. I felt that they were willing to address those, or to allow me to address those, and so we decided we drew up a contract and got the blessing of the governor and council, and we decided to move forward with it, and it's been a good success so far. So my concern was that I didn't want it to become another cops reality type show where we're kicking doors down and arresting people. I mean, there are some people in this show that are cases that are made and summonses issued, and that's just part of what we do, but I didn't want it to be focused on that, and this show is, and truly isn't. It shows a lot about search and rescue, which I think was important. It shows a lot of the outdoor opportunities that we offer in the state, which is good for the economy. And it shows the empathy that some of these officers have in dealing with people and animals, and it shows some great, sometimes humorous stories of what they go through in their average day. So I think it's an interesting show, and I think it's opened the eyes of people in the state to see what these guys do and how they do it.
So do they go, now is this show on every day, that taping, or is it just once a week?
Well, they tape with us 7 days a week. They're with different officers. We started with an initial cast of a few officers that has expanded now because they're in their second season. And other officers now that have seen how that show was going to be controlled and created have decided to get in the show, wanted to get in the show. So there's 3 or 4 crews, 3-man crews that show up here and work, literally get in with the officer and work with him, go home with him, and spend a lot of time with each officer to film their day. And then they put these programs together based on short stories, and then it's sent to us being the command staff, and we edit it. We have complete last edit rights, so we can control what goes on. And then they go back and they add different things to it. I've learned a lot about television, and then they air it and or make an episode out of it. And we're up to 24. I think it's 24 episodes, so 2 seasons worth. Yeah, so it's been a good success. We don't receive any money for it. They make a donation to the Wildlife Heritage Foundation, which benefits animal or wildlife grants, and they support our canine teams. But we don't directly receive any money from it.
So the officers themselves don't get no royalties from it?
None. Like that. No, we couldn't do that as state employee, and I wouldn't want to do that, actually, because I wouldn't want anyone to think that we're doing this to play any of this to play up to a camera, So it was a good mix, and I think it's getting a good message out. It's been received with incredible positive results. I was quite surprised. I thought we would have some issues, and we have not. I've been pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah,
It's been good.
I know. I saw that the other day. Now, who are some of the cast members from the officers?
We have Adam Cheney, who I know has been on your show. Yeah. The sergeant here is Adam is a main player. Glenn Lucas, who took my old patrol up north, a young guy who's very energetic. Eric Hannett from the southwest corner of the state. Eric Fluette from Errol is one of the members or cast members that you're going to see on there. Scott has not been on it. A number of the lieutenants have. Escalin is retired now. He's one of my dispatchers. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Dave would have been one of the characters had he been on it for certain, because he just has a great personality for that. We've had Lieutenant Murphy, Heidi Murphy, the one female warden that we have. Heidi's been on a lot and does a great job. So there's a cast. Bob Mancini's been a cast of characters.
So nobody sits here and writes choreography and all this jazz. So
no.
That's it.
It's what happens on a typical day.
Like it is here.
Yeah, and they we edit some pieces. Some pieces I don't like the way it looks, so we take it out. And they do. Animal Planet ends up grabbing a lot of the animal issues that they deal with, because that's Animal Planet. So when we go out to get fawns, or we pick up bears, or deal with bear issues, or skunks, or raccoons, that a lot of that stuff makes it. And it's interesting, because those are instances. I'm getting calls from people who said, I didn't know we had Fisher in New Hampshire. I didn't know that deer will act like this, or will show up in downtown areas. So it's good. It's educating people, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll go for a 3rd season when they get done?
It's hard to tell. The ratings are great, and my understanding of it is, as long as that continues, they will. And it creates a little bit of a hardship for us, because we've got to stop whatever we're doing and take time to edit the shows, which takes a little bit of time. But to me, it's worth it. When you put out the product at the end, these guys are getting good exposure, and I think they're getting finally some credit for some of the great work they do that no one knew anything about in the past. So, and it shows biological staff as well. working. You know, we had a couple episodes where some of the biologists worked with the small rattlesnake population that we have in New Hampshire to keep it going, and they showed some of the efforts in that. So it's a good opportunity to display for the world, actually, what these folks are doing over here and how the state benefits from it. Yeah, so it's worked out well.
Now, moving on through, when the ice finally starts to come up, I don't need it right now, but I hope we don't get it for a while. But I mean, I know the ice fishing season, do they have to get a separate license for that? Or
no, ice fishing, they do it on their regular fishing license. They can, as long as they renew it in January.
Yeah.
You're fishing, all the licenses, with the exception of some permanent ones, all expire in January. But I fishing, if you bought a fishing license, you could then ice fish, freshwater fish. If you want to fish saltwater, you have to have a different, more inexpensive license to fish saltwater, but that's a different license.
Isn't that more of a challenge to you than the freshwater one?
It is, and it's fun to do. What I still see ice fishing used for is an opportunity for some of the larger families to get out and spend a day with their family for not a lot of investment. So you can take your kids out on the ice. You can, we see people going out with grills and having a cookout and having a little social event on the ice on Saturday when the temperatures are good, and do a little fishing while they're out there. The kids do a little ice skating or might ride a snow machine. It's kind of a neat way to spend the day with your kids. And we still see people doing that, which is good. So it can be dangerous.
Oh yeah,
on unpredictable surface, and you have to be careful. And it can be cold. You don't have what's known as a bob house to get in out of the wind. It can be cold. But if you pick your days, and you get days in the middle of winter where it warms up, the sun comes out, and it's actually kind of pleasant. And those are the kind of days that you'll see people out doing this ice fishing. So, again, it's a great opportunity. In the wintertime, you got to have some interest in New Hampshire skiing, cross-country skiing or downhill skiing or ice fishing, because our winters are long.
Oh yeah, they are. I haven't heard the Almanac's prediction yet for the winter, but sometimes I think they're way off base, but sometimes they say, oh no, they're right up on. But
yeah.
I think the thing that concerns me right now is these hurricanes, but
yeah, they're frightening.
I don't know what we've got in store with Irma coming up, but that's the thing that would bother me right now, the hurricanes.
Yeah, and it's horrible to watch a complete island devastated by it, and the loss of life. 10 people I heard this morning had lost their lives, and I can't imagine 185 mile an hour winds.
Harvey?
We've been in 80. No, it was Irma on one of the islands. We've been in 80 mile an hour winds on the summit of Mount Washington, and I can't imagine 100 miles an hour faster than that. That's unbelievable. Inhuman. So it's a little frightening the way they're coming.
Because suppose it was headed for Florida, but what happens like up here say if it does come up? I remember some years ago, there were some hurricanes that used to come up. And I can remember my folks talking a lot about, I think it was Hurricane Donna, that hit Rhode Island and all that in the 50s or something.
Yeah, there was one in the 30s that was pretty significant to New Hampshire,
Carol,
I've been told. I don't remember the name, but I remember it was a significant storm. There was a lot of damage.
But I just, people, they don't listen.
They don't.
They tell you, get out.
Yeah, and they don't want to leave.
They don't want to get out, and then all of a sudden they're on the rooftops.
Yeah, and the simple fact of the matter is, if you have water coming into your home, there's nothing you're going to do to prevent that.
No.
You're only putting your lives at risk and the lives of others who are going to come and try to rescue you if you're caught there. So, but I can also understand people's reluctance to leave everything they own and have worked for all their life and just leave it to Mother Nature and pull out. But to me, it would be a simple decision, because a lot of that stuff could be replaced, and people can't be. So, I don't know. It's a tough thing. I wouldn't want to live down there.
So, what happens like with the wild animals up here? I mean, there's no place you can do that. I mean, do these storms affect them too? Or
sure.
They just,
Sure. They can have depending on the hurricane areas, they can have the same tragedies basically that people can. I think they're more adept I can tell you from experience, they're more accurate in predicting weather, so they're prepared for it, I think, a little better. And they do pretty, if you think about a white-tailed deer, for instance, surviving in New Hampshire in the outdoors,
Yeah.
they're pretty good at what they do to make it. I mean, there's days that you and I are out in 40 below weather. We can't wait to get inside,
Oh,
and these animals stay out all the time. So
Wow.
they can adapt pretty well. But I think there is definitely loss of habitat for them when a hurricane comes through and wipes out a whole town or a whole township.
Oh.
They lose a lot of what they have too. Their ability to feed and hide and get the things that they need. So, yeah, I think that there's no good that comes out of a hurricane. It's awful to watch it. And I think we're going to have a pretty active season watching it. It sounds like we are.
That's what it sounds like anyway, but I don't know.
It's a
But
little frightening, but
it's just crazy.
yeah.
So how's the fishing game doing as far as their budget and stuff? I know that was a big thing in the legislature last year or something. About
Yeah,
their
it's a
funding
struggle.
and all that shit.
Yeah, it's a struggle. They we're one of the few self-funded agencies.
Well, that's what I
still
thought
left.
when I was on fishing game
Yeah,
committee.
it's
I
not
thought
an
it
easy
was
thing. We
self-funded.
get some tax money, but it's not a lot. And like everybody, we're feeling the expenses have gone up, and the incomes have not gone to match it. So just like a business, you can only do that so long, and then you can't operate at a deficit all the time. And so we lost some positions this year in my mind that were very critical. Positions in the field, law enforcement lost 7, I think, total that were open. That's a big deal to us when we only, the city of Concord has more police officers than I do
Yeah.
covering the state.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not just Concord, Claremont and Salem. A lot of these big cities have 50 to 60 police officers. I have 30 statewide. So it's just ludicrous to think that that's going to work, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
You do the best you can with what you have, but it ends up being, you get one rescue where you've lost half your field force to go carry someone out of the woods, and none of the law enforcement issues are being addressed. So it's a real problem for us, and it's a struggle every day that we have, trying to make ends meet and provide the services with more limited resources to work with.
Well, the other day I was driving along, and I can't remember if it was 393 or if it was 93. Well, it was one of the highways, and there it was, a dead deer on the side of the road.
Yes.
So what happens if I drive along and all of a sudden, oh, free meat, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody help themselves? Or no?
They do. People, people will do. We try to remember that when we're dealing with it, that some people don't understand that you can't, legally you're supposed to have a tag, a roadkill tag for that. And we will gladly provide that to you if you call in. So if you want it, anyone that wants something like that, and there are places that people really do want that, you could feed a family for a long time off of that, and it's free if you wanted to do it. A lot of heart doctors recommend it because it's really healthy meat, because there's no chemicals in it and very little fat content. I'll get a lot of heart patients who will come in and ask for that because their doctor has recommended it, which is a little odd, but we get that a lot. So if they call into dispatch, we can give them a tag, or we have, believe it or not, we actually have lists that we maintain of people who are interested in that. So if we get a roadkill animal, we can call these folks and say, hey, we've got a moose that was hit by a car, and if your family can use it, you can pick the meat up here, and we'll give you a tag, and we give them a tag. So,
but these things, like I was just saying, this deer that's been on, who knows how long it's
well,
been
that's the risk. You got to be careful of that.
I was going to say that can't be very healthy.
No, I don't recommend people picking up. I've always warned people when they've called in, and I've been able to speak to them if they've called in because they found something, because you don't know what killed it.
I know.
What I would sooner like, and I try to talk people into considering, is, let me put your name on a list, a current list, so if we get an animal that's hit today, I know it's fresh and there's nothing wrong with it, and I can get it to you. That's a safer way to go.
Yeah.
If you just see it on the side of the road, you're right. We don't know if that's laid out there all morning or if that's something that died an hour ago, and it's kind of important to know that. So.
Well, I mean, if it's just been within, say, an hour, but something that may have been there all night or a couple of days,
it's very risky to do it.
Isn't there a chance that they could get sick or something?
Yeah, and you should know that when you're handling it. It will have it'll have a foul smell to it that should give you a heads up that it's probably no good. And in those cases, we put them back into the woods to feed other animals. It works great for that. So we have sites that we can dispose of those. So I don't recommend people picking them up unless they know how long ago it was killed and how it was killed.
Has the
Safe.
have you had any? Oh boy, we're getting down in time. Getting down almost the thing there. You have, I know, the day in the spring over there at the fishing game open house.
Discover Wild New Hampshire Day. Yep.
But do you have it in the fall too?
We don't. No, the spring is we used to do them twice a year, but now that has become such a huge event.
I know.
We've pulled all our resources for that day. That's a great event. The governor comes and kids come, and we give away popcorn and all kinds of treats there, and they get to see a lot of animals. They're exposed to many different things over there, and it's a good time. And it's free of charge. You can bring the whole family there. It's usually on Earth Day or around Earth Day in April.
Yep.
Every year, and it's well advertised, and it's a good event to come to if you've never been to it. And I know you've been there. I've seen you there, but it's a good event to go to it.
I ain't been there for a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I remember you've been there.
Well, it's interesting. I know that. I mean, for years, way back in the 50s and early 60s, we used to go down to Bear Brook.
Yes.
In the wintertime and see the animals down there.
Yeah.
We used to bring them down from Crawford Notch, I guess it was.
Yes.
You'd see deer down there. You might see, you wouldn't see no bears, but you'd see deer, foxes, skunk.
Yeah.
I don't know, but some wild birds. But I remember as kids, we always went down there.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a big attraction.
Sure.
You could feed them.
Yeah.
They had the machines there with stuff in it, but they closed that down, I guess.
They did, yeah. They stopped doing that. A lot of the deer farms and places like that have been shut down just due to cost and the maintenance of it all. Those were some of the first things to go, and they started cutting budgets back. It's unfortunate, because it was a great educational tool. Now we have discovery centers. Like the big Discovery Center we have on the ground floor at this office in Concord, and then we have hatcheries that are set up with that. So they're still educating people, but they're doing it without the benefit of real live large animals. We have fish and small animals, but not real live large animals. So
well, there's my thing. Time's up. Well, don't forget, I need the Officer of the Year for you.
I will do that. Yeah, I'll get you that.
Very short, very quickly.
Yeah.
And
I got your notice on my desk actually to do that. So I've got 2 officers, so I'll give you one of them.
All right, good. Well, we've been visiting him with the Colonel there, Kevin Jordan, and if there's any questions you have about the hunting season, when it starts, when it don't start, and all that, give him a call over there at Fishing Game at
271-3361.
3361.
Yep.
And make sure you're legal with your hunting license and go from there. And so with that in mind, thanks for joining us on Around Town. Thanks to Ian Marx, my director. And be safe when you go in the woods. Always wear orange and something. And just hunting is fun, but it's always somebody who's careless. And that's when danger happens. So.
Right.
Have a great day. Enjoy the scenery coming up, and we'll see you all soon here on Around Town. I am Dick Patten.